January 22nd, 2015, my son Grant was working at a Quick Trip in Mesa, Arizona. An illegal alien came in, dumped a jar of change out on the counter, and wanted to buy a pack of cigarettes. Grant went to start counting the change. The man said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" Grant said, "Hey, I got to count your change." At that moment, this man produced a gun. Grant did everything he was supposed to do. Grant gave him the cigarettes. And as soon as Grant did, this illegal alien shot my son in the face, killing him instantly. He then stepped over Grant's body, grabbed a couple more packs of cigarettes, stepped back over Grant, and turned and looked at my son. He wanted to make sure he was dead, because if he wasn't, he was going to shoot him again. These are stories that are happening every single day. As reported by North Carolina Fire, since 2013, there have been over 8,500 sexual assaults against children committed by illegal aliens. 90% of our heroin and fentanyl is coming across our southern border, and 78% of that number is coming across in Arizona, where we're from. 70,000 people a year are overdosing from heroin laced with fentanyl. How many more people need to die? How many more people need to overdose for Pelosi to come to the table and do her job? How many people need to die for Ocasio-Cortez to stop her ridiculous rhetoric about concentration camps? Marianne and I have been fighting for a long time.
Blood on their hands.
Our children are worth it. And Marianne's right. It's blood on their hands. And I'm honored to be with these gentlemen because they're fighting for us and they're fighting for you. You know, I made a promise right after Grant died that I was going to keep fighting for Grant, fighting for the American people. And what the American people don't understand is it's going to happen to them or to somebody they know at this point with so many people coming across our border. If the Democrats want to have so much contempt for our president that they won't come to the table, well, then guess what? I've got contempt for them.
The Trump administration pledging to crack down on illegal immigration, officially backing two immigration bills headed for the House vote tomorrow that punish both illegals and sanctuary cities. President Trump met with victims of crimes committed by illegal immigrants earlier today. Roll tape.
You lost the people that you love because our government refused to enforce our nation's immigration laws. For years, the pundits, journalists, politicians in Washington refused to hear your voices. But on Election Day, 2016, your voices were heard all across the entire world.
Steve Runnebeck was one of those at the White House meeting. His 21-year-old son, Grant, was allegedly murdered by an illegal immigrant who was out on bond and facing deportation at the time. Steve joins me now. Steve, thank you very, very much for spending the evening with us. First, please, if you can, just tell us a little bit about the story of your son. You know, I've read the accounts, but I'm not sure most people are familiar with it.
Well, what happened was January 22nd, 2015. Grant was working the overnight shift at the convenience store he worked at. Apollinaire Altamirano came into the store to buy cigarettes, dumped a jar of change out on the counter. Grant was counting the change. Mr. Altamirano said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" And Grant tried to explain to him that he had to count the change first. Altamirano then produced a gun. Grant immediately offered up the cigarettes. And at that point, Mr. Altamirano shot him in the face, killing him instantly.
Your son was murdered over a pack of cigarettes, and of course, it was enabled by the fact that this illegal immigrant was already out on bond.
He was out on a $10,000 ICE bond at the time.
What do you want to see happen? I know, obviously, his trial starts in September, and he'll be facing the death penalty, but there's going to be a vote on Steinley's law, and there's also a law Representative Biggs has introduced named after your son, Grant. That would be Grant's law, and I think one of the key provisions there is no early paroles or things like that.
Well, yeah, and basically what Grant's law does is, such as in Mr. Altamirano's case, if once we're done with them, our court system, or they get out of jail, so on and so forth, they go to the top of the list, and their deportation hearing happens within 90 days. So they're not really able to go back out onto the streets. It's pretty much they go straight to deportation, and they're removed from the country.
Well, and I will point out to the audience that your son was murdered while this guy was out on day 745.
Yes.
There was no even sense of urgency to even seek any form of justice, again, with someone who had entered this country illegally. What do you say to those people that try to justify sanctuary cities?
Well, you know, I'd like them to think about Grant. I'd like them to search Grant's name, because it's not just Grant. It's over 63,000 American citizens since 9/11 happened have been killed by illegal immigrants. This isn't just a one-time thing. It's not an isolated incident. This is every day. And what I'd like people to realize is this sanctuary cities is just inviting that crime to their neighborhoods, to their streets. They're inviting the chance for this to happen to their children. It's not worth it.
Steve, thank you very much for coming on. I just want to say God bless you and your family. I can't think of a worse crime, and you've been extraordinarily brave trying to make sure it doesn't happen to other Americans, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for having me.
We'll see you again.